Yeah, right. Sorry to pull you away there. I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
you're
your
good.
conversation. That's all right. No, that's I get it. Find coaches for next week because
Not many people are in it.
yeah, there's only one or two teams
I
from
mean,
around here that are in it.
Clyde should be in it.
They're on the bubble right now. They're sitting at 15, I think.
I think they win. They'll
14.
get in.
I agree.
We gotta have a couple things go our way.
Yeah, you got to win.
That's the
Number
biggest
one.
thing.
Yeah.
That's what we've been telling our kids. But we gotta win, and there's 6 teams in our region fighting for one spot.
Yeah.
But like, look at it. 3 of those teams play like Lima Central Catholic, Liberty Benton, and Liberty Center. So
Those
right
are
there,
all
you're
losses.
3, you're gone. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I hate to tell you that, but
No, you're
not
absolutely
gonna go
right.
and beat Liberty
And
Center.
you're playing Northwood. That's
Yeah. So there's
winnable game.
there's 3 games that have winnable and 3 teams that. Sorry about it.
Yeah. All right, here we go. I guess we're doing a commercial.
That's all right.
I guess he told me that.
Well, and like I was saying though, like to those 3 go play like stinks, but that you're not beating those 3 teams.
No.
And then, but we get Northwood. Sonora plays Edgerton.
Yeah.
It's a toss up. They're both pretty even. So we'll see what happens there. And then you talk about having your work cut out for you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We'd have our work cut out, but we got to figure out how to win this week first.
Right.
But yeah, I got bored today teaching school, and I've been obviously thinking about it all week.
gotta.
I don't tell the kids that, but I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's look it up.
Yeah.
I looked up Sonora, I looked up Edgerton, watched a little bit of both. Let's see who I thought. The bias in me is like, Edgerton can get done, but then they're pretty even. Like that game could really go either way. I'm not sure. They're both about their strengths play into their other team's weaknesses. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I looked up Fairview, who it says that it's gonna be their 5.
They're tough.
Oh, they're good. they're athletic with crap, long, length receivers, and they just sling it.
So what do you preach to a team when you know
That you're done.
Yeah.
I didn't ever experience that the last year, but just pride. That's all you can say. You know what I mean? It's hard. But this year we're in a little bit different spot because we're still playing to have a chance. It's nice to have that.
Hello and welcome into Frickers on Wednesday night. My name is Nick Roth and I am live here in Fremont from the Frickers location. Remember, it's $9.99 steak night tonight. Get yourself and the kids on down here. Get yourself a steak, a dinner roll, a side salad, and a drink, all for $9.99. Thank you to Frickers for hosting us once again. Well, it's week number 10 in the regular season of high school football. That means it is the final week of the regular season, and I am excited to be with you to talk the end of regular season football this week. Tonight we have Ryan Lozier with Lakota joining us for our first segment. Then we'll have Shane Dyer of Gibsonburg, Ryan Carter of Clyde, and of course Chad Long of Fremont Ross. But first, let's talk about those Lakota Raiders. They're coming in this week at 4-5, looking to make it an even 5-5 this week against Northwood. Coach Ryan Lozier joining me now. Coach, thank you so much for being with me here tonight. Your last game last week was against Margaretta, who's a very, very tough team. But you were able to put a score on the board. But tell me, what are some things that you saw in that game last week that you liked taking it into this week?
Well, like you said, Margaret's a good football team. I don't think we played our best football, and that comes back to, the discipline of us, and that starts with myself and getting us in a disciplined spot where we got to go play good teams on the road and compete. I'm not sure we did that, but they are a great football team, like you said. And we talked to the staff, there's two positives to that game. We had a fourth down, it was 28-0, we were getting beat up. We had a fourth down stop, fourth and goal. I mean, we had a goal line stand right before the end of the half that, showed a little bit of fight.
Yeah.
And just the second half, we had a nice couple runs. Offensively, we did nothing the first half. And again, I'll take that on my chest, calling it. But the second half, the first series, we come out and we went like 65 yards. We ended up stalling, but we had positive plays and a couple positives, like you said. But we just gotta put stuff together still.
Well, speaking of those couple of positives, I was taking a look over the stat sheet this week. And like you said, in a game like that, it's kind of tough to find positives here and there. But one kid that I do want to talk about that did pretty well on the stat sheet last week, that's Lucas McEwen. Mm-hmm. He had 3 of your catches for 53 yards. You guys only had 67 passing yards on the entire night, and he came down with 3 catches for 53. So there's a bright spot looking into this week. And how happy are you with Lucas's performance last Friday?
Like you said, he made a nice play on that drive that I was talking about in that first series where he made a nice catch, 35 yards on the field, and made a nice grab on the sideline of that drive. And Lucas is he's a tough kid, a hard worker, and it was good to see him rewarded. And we'll need him Friday night to make some plays if we're gonna go get a win on the road.
Well, speaking of Friday night, you play Northwood, who's sitting at a similar record, but 3-6 on the season, and they are a division up from you guys, a Division 5. But I'm sure that doesn't intimidate you at all. What do you think you guys need to do on the defensive side of the ball to stop the bigger team of Northwood?
Well, that's been the question all week. So they're just a very hard team to stop with the offense they run. They run the veer and the midline options and all that good stuff to where not really sure who has the ball. So we got to be disciplined up front and with our backers and hit who we're supposed to hit. And, our coaches put our kids in good spots. So as long as they do their job, we'll be okay. But it's definitely a challenge that, you can't simulate during the week. So we'll have to find out Friday night how prepared we are.
So they run that veer, as you said. And are you really preaching to your defensive linemen this week to stay disciplined and not really over-pursue and make sure to get their man? Maybe one has the dive man, one has the quarterback every time.
Yeah, our defense staff does a great job with it. Like I said, they put a lot of time into it and have a good plan. And we are. It's assignment sound football. You got to be disciplined and do your job and your job only, because if you don't, it's going to hurt the team. So they're on them hard about that this week, and it's going to have to happen for us to succeed.
Well, I'm sure on the defensive side of the ball, Northwood has a lot of holes. I mean, you don't have 6 losses and you have a completely sound defense. What do you think are the defensive weaknesses, and how can you expose them this week?
Coach Joe was just saying, they're not bad defensively. They played Hopewell last week, and I thought they hit well. And teams have been able to run the football on them, so we'll have to see what we can do to them early on. But they have some kids that can play over there, so I think it's just a matter of time. I was looking at the roster; they're actually pretty young still. So maybe they're maturing and growing a little bit, and then next year they'll have all those guys back. So offense and defensively, we'll have our work cut out, and we're going to play well to win.
Talking with head coach Ryan Lozier of the Lakota Raiders here at Frickers. Remember, it's $9.99 steak night. Get yourself a steak, dinner, roll, side salad, drink, all for $9.99. And, of course, kids always eat free. Coach Lozier, it is the final week of the regular season, and this time we can seriously talk about the playoffs. And right now you're in Division 6, Region 22, and you're sitting at 16th we were talking a little bit off air. You were kind of taking a look at things today, and maybe you don't want people to know that, but you were taking a look at some playoff positionings today. And even though you're sitting at 16th, if the playoffs started today, you would not be in. Goal number 1 is to win this Friday, and if you do that, you think you have a good chance of getting some help and moving into the playoffs, into that 12th spot?
Well, there's 6 of us fighting for one spot, and like you said, we've been preaching all week. We just got to win Friday night. I've been telling our kids, we have to chase that win Friday night without knowing what's to come. And could it happen that we get in? Yeah, it could. I just keep saying it's 50-50 chance. I really think that there's some games that could go our way and could not go our way. So we got to keep our focus on Northwood because they're a good football team. And if we don't win Friday night, it doesn't matter anyway.
Well, Coach Lozier, a few final questions for you. Yeah. Number 1, as I said, playoffs started today. You guys wouldn't be in. So what are you telling your seniors this week? Because there's no guarantee you're getting into that 12 spot. Are you telling them you play this game like it is your very last game?
I think you play every game like it is, but we haven't really. What we've talked about this week is focusing just on this week, and it could be your last game, and we've told them that. I try to be upfront and honest, and I don't know if you want to call it brutally honest, but I try to lay it out like this could happen, this couldn't happen. So we've been saying just go play your hardest, leave everything on the field, and control what we can control, and that's playing Friday night to the best of our abilities and trying to get a win. And you know what? If we're fortunate enough to get in, we are. And if not, unfortunately, I think we've put ourselves in this position that we're in. We have some games in the first 9 weeks that I feel we hurt ourselves in against some good football teams, but we hurt ourselves. So we're kind of responsible for where we're at, and now we need some help.
Talking with Coach Ryan Lozier of the Lakota Raiders. Coach, last question for you. You play Northwood this Friday. We talked about how you need a win. We talked about playoffs, and we're not focusing on that. But obviously, you play Margaretta last week. Mm-hmm. You lose by 31. Is there anything new this week that you're going to be doing defensively or offensively to maybe give you a bit of an edge over Northwood?
Just different game planning things. I don't know that anything new. It's week 10, so you gotta have your identity, and you gotta go with that, and that's what we're gonna do. We gotta get better at what we're doing, and no matter week 10, week 1, week 11, you gotta get better at what you're doing, and then add the little adjectives off it. But just game plan wise, some things change because the offense you play is a little different, and the defense lines up a little different, but it's all the same stuff, and we just gotta go out and execute the best of our ability to what we've been working on for 3-4 months now.
All right, well, Coach, I appreciate you spending some time with me here tonight. Thank you so much. Good luck on Friday night.
Thank you.
This is Nick Roth live from the Fremont Frickers here on Eagle 99 WFRO. You can listen to us, of course, on 99.1 FM, WFROradio.com, and, of course, on YouTube. We are live streaming. Just go to our Facebook, click the link, and watch us live. You'll be directed right over to our page. I'd like to go through a little bit of the schedule of the BAS Sports Network here for a little bit before we head to break, because I'm afraid I won't be able to get to it later. Again, thank you to head coach Ryan Lozier, and we'll make sure, Coach, that you get your card really quick. And, I don't want to forget that. Sometimes I do. There you go. You're welcome. So our tentative schedule for this week for sports on Eagle 99 and 92.1 The Wolf, our sister station, of course, this Friday. We have Bowling Green at Fremont Ross. That'll be a 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff right here on Eagle 99. John Kearns will take you through that game with Scott Logan as your color commentator. On 92 on the Wolf, I will be at Clyde this week as I see the Norwalk Truckers take on the Clyde Flyers. 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff for that. I will bring you all the play-by-play action from that game. On Saturday, we have your college football fix on the Eagle. BGSU and Kent State play at noon, 11 o'clock pregame, noon kickoff for that. Ohio State has a bye week again this week, so unfortunately on the Wolf, you won't be hearing the Paul Keels call, but that's okay. They're undefeated, and no one's complaining about that, except maybe some of you Fremont, Michigan faithful. I know that there's a lot of them around here. On Monday, October 27th, next Monday, we have the BGSU Falcons Nest Radio Coaches Show right here on Eagle 99 from 6 until 7. And then on Wednesday, I'll be here again at Frickers for our final football coaches show of the season. Crazy, crazy to think that we are in week 10 already. It is insane. We are in the final week of the regular season, and playoffs are literally just around the corner. When we come back, we'll be talking Gibsonburg football with head coach Shane Dyer. Keep it right here on Eagle 99.1 FM, WFROradio.com, and YouTube Live. This is the Fremont Federal Credit Union High School Football Coaches Show live from the Fremont Frickers. And welcome back to Frickers on this Wednesday night, your edition of the Eagle 99 High School Football Coaches Show. My name is Nick Roth. Thank you for joining me on 99.1 FM, WFROradio.com, and YouTube Live. Remember, get down to Frickers, get yourself a $9.99 steak, dinner roll, side salad, and drink. All for $9.99, and kids always eat free. Joining me now, head coach of the Gibsonburg Golden Bears, Shane Dyer. Shane, thank you so much for being with me here this evening. Well, the Gibsonburg Golden Bears got off to a 3-2 start through their first 5 games, which is not bad, but it's not the greatest. But ever since, they've been doing nothing but winning. They've won 4 in a row, looking to make it 5 to close out the regular season. They come in at 7-2 heading into Week 10, and they have a huge matchup this weekend against the Margaretta Polar Bears at 8-1. That'll be a fantastic game. So if you can, make your way over to Margaretta and check that one out. But first, Coach, I want to talk with you about your last game against Willard. You're able to put a shellacking to those Crimson Flash. It's the Willard Crimson Flashes, right?
Yes.
Correct. All right, good.
Yeah.
I thought you were able to blow them out of the water. A 62-point victory. You won 69-7. How were you able to dominate inside and out throughout that entire game?
We set the tone up on the line, and we pushed them around most of the night, and things are easier to call when, you're getting a push on the line and holes are opening up, and it just makes it nice.
Well, they say the game is won up front, and you guys like to prove that every week. You guys take a lot of pride in your offensive and defensive line play, and in that it opens up a lot of lanes for your running back Grant Smith, and last week was no exception. He had over 200 yards rushing. He had 209 yards on the ground in only 14 attempts, which is absolutely insane numbers. And he had 3 touchdowns. He averaged 15 yards per attempt. And, that's just out of this world good. So what do you see from Grant on the field that you like, and what makes him such a tough runner?
He almost always falls forward. So when you hit him, you do get a good shot on him. Very seldom does he get driven backwards. So he takes a shot and can can push forward or push through, no matter how many people are there or what happens. He makes good cuts and sees the hole, and he's just a good all-around back.
And I asked this question because I haven't been able to see him play yet. Is he one of those guys? Does he break a lot of tackles? Is he fleet of foot? Is he juke around you, or is he run right through you, break your tackle?
He'll make a nice jump cut, then he can take off, and that makes him pretty good. And then he also can break tackles too. So a lot of kids will bounce off him. He has great balance. So.
Well, of course, you expect me to talk about Grant. I mean, every time we do, and for good reason. He's fantastic in the backfield. But a guy that we don't talk about much that we should, Aiden Morant, also over the century mark on Friday night. He had 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. What makes Aiden's running different from Grant's, and how do you benefit from that 1-2 punch? Well, it's more than a 1-2 punch. It's more like a 1-2-3-4 punch. You guys go through a lot of running backs, but what makes it so effective? What makes Aiden so effective that he can rack up big yards too?
They focus a lot on Grant. When they focus on Grant, then Aiden Mims and Aiden Morant then get the chance to run the ball, go in different directions, and even just with Grant leading, there are times he leads, and they still get good yards. So that part's really good, nice having those there and being able to key on Grant makes it easier for these guys to get around the outside or even through the middle.
Well, we talk a lot about your offense, and as we should, your guys' rushing attack is second to none, especially in Division 7. It's a really prominent thing for a lot of teams to have rushing attacks, especially in small schools like Division 7 schools, but you guys do it great. But I want to switch over, and I want to talk about your defense. You guys, you won the turnover battle very much so. You forced 3 fumbles. You recovered all of them, I believe. You had an interception, you had 4 sacks, and you had 2 defensive touchdowns. So what did you put in last week defensively that made you guys so successful?
It's the same defense. It's the same defense. It's just the kids are starting to believe in what we do, and they hustle, and Coach Smith does a good job of getting them ready each week. And he takes care of that defense and gets them all ready and jacked up, and they perform very well for him.
Well, you're going to need your defense to perform very well this week against the Margaretta Polar Bears. They are at 8-1. They are a division higher than you. But what do you guys have to do defensively this week to get a win against Margaretta, who is a very, very tough team this season?
I mean, they like the big play. So, they've got a good receiver. They've got a good quarterback. And, you've got Judah Keller there running the ball. So, they've got a lot of nice components they have there on offense. And we've just got to make sure we read our keys and follow Coach Smith's game plan.
And then offensively, obviously, I don't think you guys – Gibsonburg, they're never a, hey, we're going to change everything up type of team week to week. You guys love to stick to your identity. I respect that 100%. But are we going to see a little bit more, of the ball in the air, or are we going to go ground and pound like we do every week here at Gibsonburg?
Most of the time, we'll see what they do for us. Their defense is pretty good. They've only given up 32 points in the first half of the entire year.
Yeah,
I think what it is. I mean, that's a pretty good defense.
It sure is.
So we're gonna have to figure something out on offense, and I'm gonna have to be on my A game when it comes to that.
Talking with head coach Shane Dyer of the Gibsonburg Golden Bears, they have posed a 7-2 record so far this season. Very, very, very respectable. And we're talking playoffs now because we are in Week 10, and it's not so taboo. I would talk about them in Week 5 on, but I wasn't allowed to. So right now, if the playoffs ended today, not only would you be in, but you would get a home game and a bye in the first round. So you guys are sitting at the 4 seed. If you win, you will clinch that home game and bye. In fact, I believe you've already clinched a home game. But if you win, you will clinch a bye at least. And then with the loss, you could still get that bye, but you'll definitely have a home game. So how nice is it in week 1 of the playoffs to at least know that you guys don't have to travel anywhere and you guys can stay right at home where you'll have home field advantage?
That makes it easier for the kids to know exactly where we're at, what we're doing, what our routine is, and we don't have to go travel. Or sometimes, you have to take a bus all the way hour and a half, 2 hours away, and that's a little difficult for sometimes when you don't have to travel like we do. Our league is pretty close to us.
Yeah.
So we don't have much more than a 40-minute drive.
Right.
So for us, have an hour and a half drive. That's a little challenging at times.
Yeah, it sure is. And I've been there. I've been the team that has to travel 2.5 hours to lose by 40. It's just not fun. So it is nice to have that home game. I've also been on that side of it as well, and it's a lot nicer when you can stay at home all day. Go to school and then show up for your like it's a regular home game during the season. Show up to the locker room. You don't have to be there an hour and a half earlier. But moving on, this week it's week 10. It's the final week of the regular season. You're away, so I'm sure you guys have already had your senior night. But what are you preaching to your seniors this week, knowing that it's their last regular season game?
I mean, I think most of the coaches will talk about how do you want to be remembered, you know, what's your legacy you're going to leave, and how do you want to be remembered with all the younger kids that are out there, the people watching you, the fan base, the community, what do you want to leave?
Yeah.
What kind of mark do you want to leave on the community?
And I know this week you've talked about how, I mean, you get it. It's a 10-week season, 10 weeks of doing this every single day. For coaches, it's 7 days a week. For the kids, it's usually around 6. On Saturdays, you'll wake up, have walkthrough and films. So around this time of season, guys can get tired. And I'm not saying they're getting discouraged, but they get tired. What do you do to motivate your team to keep pushing through these long seasons?
We've shortened up practice a little bit at the end of the season. Try to get their legs back a little bit and hopefully keep them healthy and still excited to play and not just have everything just drag out. Seems like at the end of the season, it feels like everything drags out. But if you cut it off just a little bit earlier, then I don't think the kids feel that way, and they still, I think, show a little more excitement and energy when they come to practice, week 10.
Coach, good luck this week against the Margaretta Polar Bears, and it's going to be a fantastic matchup. I can't wait to see that score. I'll be at Clyde, but best believe I'll be checking ScoreStream to see how you guys shake out. Good luck this
Appreciate
week, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That was head coach Shane Dyer of the Gibsonburg Golden Bears. We were talking Gibsonburg football here on the Coaches Show from Frickers on Eagle 99. My name is Nick Roth, and I'm encouraging you to get on down here to Frickers. Get yourself a steak, dinner roll, side salad, and drink, all for $9.99. Bring your kids. It won't cost you anything extra. They eat for free. And NBA basketball starts tonight. So after the show, you can tune in. I believe the Cavs are playing tonight. But I don't even know. I'm more of a college basketball guy myself. But that's exciting as well. So make sure you check all that stuff out too. But get on down here to Frickers. Get yourself that steak dinner. Appreciate you listening on Eagle 99.1 FM, WFRradio.com, and YouTube Live. We'll be right back, and we'll talk some Clyde Flyer football here from the Coaches Show at Frickers on Eagle 99. Here on this Wednesday night edition of the Eagle 99 High School Football Coaches Show. We're talking Week 10 football, and, of course, we're talking a little bit about the playoffs. We'll have more of that next week. I'll be here next week for our playoff preview show. But for now, we have Coach Ryan Carter of the Clyde Flyers. Coach Carter, thank you so much for joining me again tonight. And your last game was against Tiffin Columbian. You went all the way to Tiffin, and I'll tell you what, you walked into Tiffin, you guys, honestly, if there was a team in Northern Ohio that I wouldn't want to play, it would be you guys because you were on such a hot streak. But the Columbian Tornadoes, they were unfazed, and they were able to get the best of you last Friday night. What did you guys need to improve on to maybe get a win here against Norwalk this next week?
Well, honestly, I did not think, I've watched the film a bunch of times and watched it with our kids, and I did not think we played too poorly. It was 7-7 end of the first quarter and then into that second quarter. And, there was just a string of plays when it was 7-7 and then it went to 21-7 where they just made plays and we didn't. They had kids go up and make plays, and we had kids that, fell a little bit short. And when you do that and it stretches that margin out, it becomes a tough task. And you got to give them all the credit. They executed very well. They came in with a very good game plan and executed it well. Probably better than I'd seen them execute all year. But you have that sometimes, especially when you're on the road. You got to rise above, and we didn't do that. So we turn around, we flip the script, and try to get ourselves ready for a Norwalk team that is still playing for something. They're still playing hard football, and they're still doing what they do. They keep the ball away from you. They run it extremely hard, and we can't turn the ball over and put ourselves behind the sticks. So it's going to be a task for us Week 10, but we're still playing for a chance. That's what I keep telling the kids. We don't control everything, but we control what we do in Week 10, which might give us a chance, an outside chance to play in Week 11.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coach. Your answer was fantastic. I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper on everything you just touched on. But first, I do want to go back to this past week. You said you didn't play poorly, and the stat sheet shows that. Your rushing attack was fantastic. You had 223 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Adam Young was over the century mark. He had 113 yards on the ground. And then Jonathan Lance, he also added almost 70 yards on the ground as well. And then Jonathan, he had a touchdown pass. He didn't have any interceptions. I mean, everything just it doesn't look bad offensively. But on defense, we didn't really see the numbers that we usually see. Yeah. Now, we had a couple kids, Curtis Dick and Hector Garza, your 2 defensive leaders, I would say. Uh-huh. They stepped up. They had 26 combined tackles. But everybody else, they got kind of low numbers out there. Was that maybe an issue you ran into, not being able to get their ball carriers on the ground?
Yeah, it was. We didn't cover them up real well in that stretch in the second quarter. And then they were able to run the football very effectively against us to kind of kill the rest of the game. We got it to 28-14 there halfway through the third quarter. I felt like we got to stop, and I felt like they were going to punt around midfield when it was 4th and about 4. And we had an unfortunate personal foul that gave them a first down, gave them some momentum, and they scored a couple plays later and really stretched that lead out. So, it was tough. It was tough. It was tough to watch. I didn't feel like we played terrible, but we didn't play well enough to win.
So when you give up a lot of success on the ground, that obviously you make that resonate with your defensive line and your linebackers. Their jobs are really to fill and stop the run. Do you tell them this week, hey, we don't dwell on last week, but you got to take it personal that you got pushed around a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do that this week, they're just going to run the ball every single play. We watched them beat Sandusky last week with throwing the ball 2 times in their game. Yeah. And they scored 31 points. They beat them 31-28. They have a phenomenal kicking game. They put you behind field position-wise with their special teams. And then they just keep the ball in their offensive hands. They keep it away from you. They play sound defense, and if you don't capitalize on your drives and you don't take advantage and you turn the football over, it's going to be a long night for you.
Well, I agree with you there, Coach. I saw the Norwalk Truckers play the Bellevue Redmond earlier this season, and it was when Bellevue, I think it might have been week 2 or 3. I think it was week 3 because they won 2 in a row. And, they looked like one of the hottest teams in the area because they beat you guys in week 1, and then they had a win in week 2. And then you know, it looked like their offense was really clicking and kind of unstoppable. And Norwalk is one of those defenses that they might not stop you every time, but they're going to make you uncomfortable every time. They don't let you settle into a rhythm.
Yeah.
And what are you teaching to your guys this week that'll help you guys settle into a rhythm and play Clyde football?
Well, I think we got to try to keep them off balance. So you got to try to stay as balanced as you possibly can. And I think it's huge with Norwalk is to stay ahead of the chains. If you get into second and long and third and long situations, they're going to drop everybody and make you throw it underneath, and they're going to come up and tackle because they do a very good job of running to the football, and they have some athletes that do a good job of tackling in space. So it's one of those things where you're into Week 10. There's not a whole lot of tweaks and things that you don't know about your opponent, but we've got to be able to throw enough at them this week to keep them off balance.
Talking with head coach Ryan Carter of the Clyde Flyers. Talking Flyer football, what you got to do to win next week against the Norwalk Truckers. Said you're going to make sure you stay in that rhythm and play Flyer football. What about defensively? You know, it doesn't look like on paper that these Norwalk Truckers have a high-powered offense, but then you see them go out and beat teams like Sandusky, who is the biggest team in the region, and also Vermilion. They're a big team, and they were heavy favorites in that game. So what do you have to do defensively to make sure they don't capitalize on any mistakes?
You got to be assignment sound. You got to tackle, and you have to get them into uncomfortable situations. If you give them 4 yards on first down and 4 yards on second down, you are going to be in trouble because they can do whatever they absolutely want on third and fourth down. If they're into 3rd and 2 and we're seeing a bunch of 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3s, it's going to be very, very tough for us to get off the field, which leads to frustration, which leads to your offense not being out there, and that just compounds. The game goes very fast, and if you don't take advantage of your possessions, you're going to find yourself in trouble. So trying to get off the field, making them punt, and then capitalizing when we get the ball.
So you said you want to limit the short third downs, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, even 3rd and 4. Are you sending a lot of extra pressure this week to make sure that happens?
I don't know that it's pressure. We're going to have a lot of guys around the line of scrimmage. We're going to have a lot of guys in the box, but I don't think you technically blitz them a bunch. You don't send a bunch of guys off the edge or up the middle because they're just trying to run the ball in a certain area, and pressure-wise doesn't really help you much. You got to be assignment sound. You have to be good tacklers, and when they give you opportunities to put them behind the sticks, you have to.
Talking with head coach Ryan Carter of the Clyde Flyers, how they can beat these Norwalk Truckers. Norwalk comes in at 3-6, and as Coach Carter says, they're not playing for nothing. They're still playing for something, and they've played the spoiler to a lot of teams this season that thought they were going to go into Norwalk and win. So you got to defend home turf against those Truckers and get the job done. And if you do that, as we switch to our playoff conversation, you should be able to get in. Now it's not a guarantee.
Nope.
But if you get a win, it looks like you're looking at the 11 or 12 seed, and obviously you have to travel, probably either to Bay Village or those hated rivals at Bellevue. So what do you do, Coach? Do you tell your guys that it's a bit of a disadvantage that we have to travel? Oh, we're playing this team. Do you focus on making the playoffs, and once you make the playoffs, of course you worry about who you're playing, but does it matter really? Is it like survive in advance? I don't care if we're playing a college team out there?
Honestly, at this point with where we're at, we're just trying to get in. If they give us an extra week, we're going to be all in to take it. We don't care who we play. We don't care where we play. If we get an extra week of football, we're going to be happy about it. Extra week of practice, extra week of game, another chance for our seniors to play another game. So we do not control our own destiny. I told the kids this week the only thing we control is Week 10. So if we go out and we play well and we can get a win, the cards are going to fall where they may. Honestly, it's out of our hands. We've played this hand. We've dealt ourselves this hand. I mean, there were games where we could have won. There were games that we definitely had a chance of winning that would have helped our percentages as far as making the playoffs. We weren't able to do that. So now we leave it up to chance, and the only thing we really control is ourselves. Friday night against Norwalk, we got to try to take care of that business, and then honestly, wherever it falls, if it falls that we're out, then we did that to ourselves. If it falls that we're in, we'll go anywhere and play anybody.
So what do you tell your seniors this week, knowing that it could be their last game, especially if they don't win? Do you just tell them, hey, we control Week 10, or do you look them in the face and say, this is what you have to do this week. I mean, it's on your shoulders, really.
I think you honestly, you tell them and you're honest with them and say, hey, this is your last high school football game. For a lot of you, your last football game in general. And you tell them that, and, you're not guaranteed even if we win. But what we can control is going out on a positive note, winning your last home football game that's going to be memorable for you in our home stadium in front of our home crowd. And if it by chance gives you another game, then that's bonus football.
One final question for you, Coach Carter. We're talking about these seniors and what you're preaching to them this week, that it could be their final regular season game. And we talked when you guys played Toledo St. Francis this season and how cool it was for you guys to go to the Glass Bowl and play in a Division I college stadium. And we talked about how Clyde isn't Division I school. You're not even a huge Division IV school like Cleveland Glenville. You guys are just a smaller Division IV school here in North Central Ohio. And I guess my point is you're not going to have a lot of players that are playing on Saturday. Have you seen in this senior group this week especially that they know that this could be the last time they put on a helmet and shoulder pads?
For a lot of them it is, and I tell our kids every year, there's a lot of things you do in life that you can continue to do after high school. You can go play basketball. You can go play baseball. You can play softball. You can do a lot of sports, but very, very seldom do you organize an 11-on-11 football game where you pad up, put a helmet on, and play.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. So this is an experience that is once in a lifetime, and when it's over, it's usually over. Now, we do have a couple kids that should go on and play at the next level, but for a lot of our kids, it's over on Friday night if our season ends. So you tell them to just cherish it, look around, take the moment in, and, give us everything you have.
All right, thank you so much, Coach Carter of the Clyde Flyers. Really appreciate your time. Good luck. We'll be at the game this week against Norwalk. Look forward to broadcasting.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. This is Nick Roth live from the Fremont Frickers on $9.99 steak night. Get yourself a steak, dinner roll, side salad, and a drink, all for $9.99. Bring down the kids because they are always free. Well, coming up, we're going to be talking with Coach Chad Long of the Ross Little Giants about where they stand. They just came off a heartbreaking 7-0 loss to the Napoleon Wildcats. I believe it's the Wildcats. Fact check me on that. I'm probably wrong. But they just came off a heartbreaking loss, but they're still in the picture. They're actually on the bubble at 12, so we'll talk with Chad Long in just a second about all that. I want to remind you of the upcoming schedule on the BAS Sports Network this week. Of course, tonight we have our coaches show, but tomorrow night on 92 on the Wolf, our sister station, we have the Ryan Day Show, OSU football show from 7 to 8 p.m. Not sure what Ryan's going to talk about for an hour when he doesn't have a game this week, but I guess tune in to find out. And on Friday, of course, we will have high school football, your high school football fix. We will be at the Bowling Green at Fremont Ross game, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff for that. John Kearns and Scott Logan will take you through that game. And then myself and Kyle Knight, we will be at Clyde High School for the Norwalk Truckers and the Clyde Flyers, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kick for that one. I'll bring you all the play-by-play for that. On Saturday, we have your BGSU Falcon Fix. The Falcons take on the Golden Flashes of Kent State, 11 o'clock pregame, 12 noon kickoff for that one. Of course, as I said, Ohio State has a bye week. And on Monday, we have the BGSU Falcons Nest radio coaches show from 6 until 7 p.m. Get yourself some Eddie George on Monday night. I know I always love tuning into that. Even when I'm not at the station, I love tuning in and seeing what Coach George has to say. And next Wednesday, of course, I'll be back here for our playoff preview. Our last Frickers football coaches show of the year. We'll have basketball coming up, but that's not going to be till December. So if you like these Fricker shows, make sure you tune in next week. It'll be the last one for a while. And then next Friday is when we get into all the possibilities for high school football playoff action. So when we come back, we'll be talking with one final coach. It's Chad Long of Fremont Ross, and we'll be talking about their one final guaranteed game. Stick around and stay tuned here to Eagle 99.1 FM, WFROradio.com, and keep watching on YouTube Live. This is the Eagle 99 High School Football Coaches Show live from Frickers. On $9.99 steak night, dinner, roll, side salad, steak, and drink, all for $9.99. Get yourself on down here. Bring the kids because they always eat free. We're in our final segment of the night for our Week 10 Coaches Show, and joining me now is Coach Chad Long of the Ross Little Giants. Coach, thank you so much for joining me here this evening. Well, you had won 3 in a row going into last Friday, but it was a slugfest against Napoleon. All eyes were on that game, and unfortunately, you weren't able to scratch any points across the board and lost a heartbreaker 7-0. What did you see in that game that you guys could have improved on to maybe get that win?
I mean, we had 2-3 opportunities, on their side of the territory. I mean, it was a slugfest of battling outfield position, but we had 3 opportunities that we were on their side of the territory that we need to come away with points, and we were unable to. So, I mean, those are our opportunities we had, and we weren't able to take advantage of those.
Well, I'll tell you, even though that you couldn't scratch a score across the board, your rushing stats, especially for Talon Brown, who all season, I feel like every time I'm here we talk about Talon because he's just that guy that'll get you 50 to 75 yards every game, and he's a workhorse for you. He did have 75 yards on the ground. He had a big, long 23-yard rush.
To start the game.
Yeah, and he wasn't able to get in the end zone, but your rushing attack did look good. It looks like on the night you guys had about 110 rushing yards. So what did you like out of your rushing attack, and did you like the way your boys moved them up front? You think you were able to have a little bit of an advantage there?
Yeah, I think we did really well up front with the O-line. It comes down to when we're able to move the sticks, we get a penalty, and it pulls us back, and it gets us in a sticky situation of now we become very predictable. That happened all night against us, and it's been our problem all year is that our kids are grabbing a hold of the kids when they're blocking outside the framework instead of being inside the framework, and we're getting called for that, and righteously so.
And I know you've been preaching that to them all year because this isn't the first time we've talked about it. Why do you think these kids are gravitating towards grasping the outside? For me, it was always easier to get up into somebody's pads than grab them on the side and hold them. Do you think, that's just the way they were taught when they were younger? Maybe it's what they see on TV?
No.
Or
I just think it's one of those things they're a step behind, and in doing that, they lunge and hold on, from the outside of the frame instead of being inside. It's, something that they got to learn along the way and get better at. And I think it's we're losing a step, rather it's inside or outside. And, we're just getting just outside the frame, and that's why we're getting called for it.
Well, even though your offense played valiantly but couldn't put any points on the board, your defense was fantastic on Friday night, only holding Napoleon to only 7 points. What did you see out of your defense that you really liked the whole night?
Well, our defense played well the entire night. It was an 87 drive, 18 play from the third into the fourth quarter, and that took a toll on us. And they were able to, 87 yards came in that. I think they accumulated 160 total yards. So we kept them 72 yards, the whole game. So I just think they were on the field too much. Napoleon has they're going to get 3-4 yards, and they'll go on 4 downs, and they did. And, that's their style of offense, and we were in a slugfest, and I believe we were doing the same thing right back at them, running the ball right at them as well. But they didn't have penalties, and we did.
Yeah.
And that's the difference of the game.
The main difference of the game was the penalties then. You've been preaching about it all year, and I know that it's definitely not lack of discipline on the coaching end of it. Obviously, you've been all year preaching at them to be a little bit more disciplined. And
I look at it as, it's one thing if we're grabbing and throwing kids down. These kids are fighting. They're doing everything they can. We're talking high school kids, and mistakes are going to happen.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, these were big situations. I believe we lost 3 first downs due to holding calls throughout the game. It put us on, we're backpedaling at that point.
Well, and holding, much like art, I believe is subjective because it seems like there's a new definition of it every week. Some refs aren't calling this, but they're calling that, and some refs aren't calling that, but they're calling this.
I'm not saying they weren't
Yeah.
They were legit holding penalties, it's not the officiating.
Yeah.
It's things we got to continually get better, and we're dealing with 4 kids, that are underclassmen, and so they got to really fine tune their stuff in the off season here moving forward. But we still hopefully got a lot of game to play, and coming games first, obviously this Friday, but hopefully in the playoffs too.
Yeah, you have one more guaranteed game, and that is this week against those Bobcats from Bowling Green. And what do you guys, I mean, you come in as the favorites, of course, but what do you guys have to do? What do you have to execute well to go out there and get a win this week?
Well, on offense, we got to put the ball in the end zone when it matters. On defense, they're all spread. They'll go empty, and we can't give up any big plays, and we got to be able to contain the quarterback from running the ball. So I feel that we got a really good game plan going into this week of what Bowling Green likes to do defensively and what they like to do offensively. So I feel good, with our coaches' game plans, and all we got to do now is execute it.
When you got a spread offense that you're going up against, and got empty sets all the time,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does Cole Myers, when he's coming off the edge there, do his eyes light up? Does he lick his chops? Do you send pressure a lot more to maybe get some heat off of him and let him shine in that backfield this week?
Well, let's be honest. He ain't coming off the edge. He's coming straight up the middle.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So he's going to try taking up 2-3 guys.
Yeah.
And that's our goal is for him to do that. Coming off the edge, you have Talon Brown and Marquez Williams that'll be coming off the edge, setting the edge, forcing that guy to step up right in Nicole. And Anthony Sorg, who will be looking for the quarterback as well to take off and run. Yeah, they're going to be licking their chops, knowing that it's going to be a lot of passing, a lot of opportunity for our guys to get sacks. I think our matchups are good against Bowling Green, and it's just not, missing any assignments along the way because they can score. Bowling Green's not a bad team.
No.
They played all the teams very, very competitively, and they're not laying down. They're young, and, they have a lot of dangerous receivers and a pretty good quarterback. So, they have 7 out of the 11 kids on defense returning next year. And I think they're very talented in the run stopping. So we got our work cut out for us running the ball against them.
And offensively, I was just about to say, we talked about, your defense and lighting them up, but what does your offense have to do well that it didn't necessarily do well this last week to beat Bowling Green?
Well, we got to execute on the offensive side. We got to be able to throw the ball a little bit more and be able to take some of that pressure off of Talon and the running game. And when we do throw the ball, we got to be able to catch the ball and get upfield.
And your seniors, what have you been preaching to them this week? I'm sure you're saying, hey, this is your last guaranteed game that you're going to play at Fremont Ross High School.
Mm-hmm.
And what have you been preaching them a lot about legacy and leaving it all on the field because you never know what'll happen?
Not really. This is enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
That's more or less what we as a coaching staff has been saying is because this season has flown by so fast.
My goodness, hasn't it?
And
oh, man.
This is their last game at Fremont. That's guaranteed.
Yeah.
So enjoy the moment. Enjoy the last Friday night games. I played in college, and many other coaches have played in college.
Yes.
It's nothing like playing under the lights, under your home town. You're in front of your family, in front of your friends, your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's nothing like that.
Yeah,
And,
it means a lot more.
And I just tell these guys to just cherish it, and enjoy the moment.
Well, I think it was Kirk Cousins who had that interview that said, I've maybe it was Kirk, maybe it was Joe Flacco. It was one of those guys that was like, I've played on the biggest stages you could ever play on, and the one I miss the most is playing my high school football days. And, there's nothing like it. I'm glad these seniors are taking advantage of that. But before I let you go, Coach, we haven't talked about playoff positioning yet, and I know coaches, players, they really don't care as long as they're in the playoffs. But the 10 and 11 seed in Division II Region 6, Brecksville, Broadview Heights, and Cleveland Rhodes, they control their own destiny. You guys do not. But if you get a win at Bowling Green, it's pretty much a lock that you're going to be in the playoffs. Now, some crazy things have to
Yeah,
happen
I've seen upsets.
for you to get kicked out. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not
Yeah.
guaranteeing anything, and I'm knocking on wood right now. I would, because I don't want any Fremont Ross Little Giant fans coming for my head. But you can control getting a win on Friday night.
Yeah.
And then once you get that Friday night win, does it even matter where you have to go or what you have to? I mean, are you just happy to be getting another week of football?
To be honest with you, all I care about is winning this last game
Yeah.
at home for the seniors. After that, it's all fate. So
Yeah.
it's out of our hands. There's upsets that occur all the time.
Yeah.
You know, last year, for example, Wadsworth losing, they were undefeated. They lost the last game of the year, which knocked us down one. And then Lima Senior getting beat by Toledo Start knocked us down another one.
Yeah.
And we had to play Medina Highland, which nobody wanted to play Medina
Right.
Highland. So, I mean, there's upsets. It's going to happen. You don't know who's injured and so forth. But to me, it doesn't matter. As long as you get in, anything can happen. And, you know, we'll take it by stride at that point if we get in.
Well, if the playoffs started today, the Ross Little Giants would play Medina Highland, who is at a 9-0 start this season, looking to go 10-0. But Coach Chad Long, as he just told you, doesn't care. He wants a win for the seniors at home here in Week 10. Coach, wish you the best of luck this
Thank
week.
you.
Appreciate you coming
it.
on the show. And we appreciate all the coaches coming on the show tonight. Ooh, I do want to give you one of these before you head out.
Thanks.
I want to make sure that you get that. And want to remind you that there's still plenty of time at Frickers. Come on down and get yourself that steak dinner deal. And I was right. The Cavs do play tonight. They're on the TV right here, right now. Get yourself on down to Frickers. Get yourself a nice cold beverage. And watch the Cavs. Get a cheap steak dinner. Bring the kids because they eat free. I'm pretty sure at Frickers, as long as the game is on, they're open. I'm pretty sure. But I'm not 100% on that. But make sure you get on down here and get yourself that deal. My name is Nick Roth. I'd like to appreciate all of you for tuning in on 99.1 FM, WFROradio.com, and YouTube Live. I'd also like to thank Ryan Lozier, Shane Dyer, Ryan Carter, and Chad Long, all for joining me tonight. This is the last regular season coaches show. Next week it'll be the playoff preview. And the coaches for that are TBA because we got to see how this crazy Week 10 shakes out. Don't miss the Ryan Day Show on 92.1 The Wolf, our sister station, tomorrow night. And, of course, your high school football action on our BAS stations this weekend. We've got Fremont Ross and Bowling Green on right here on Eagle 99, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kick for that. And, of course, on our sister station, 92.1 The Wolf, Kyle Knight and myself will be at Clyde for the Truckers and Flyers game. Until then, we will see you, and I appreciate you tuning in. This is Nick Roth from Frickers saying goodbye and good night, and stick around and stay tuned here to Eagle 99 WFRO, all the hits, all the time.